Picture this. It's the year 2052. You just posted an honest review about a product, and then, over the next few weeks, your video gets taken down, you get constantly harassed by bots, and then on top of that, the company that made the product threatens to sue you. Sounds pretty unbelievable and dystopian, right? Yep, sure does. And for HouseFresh, a small independent review site dedicated to testing air purifiers, it's a reality right now. Within a month of their video review of the PureAir 240 being posted, they got an anonymous tip that their review had been put forward as evidence in a pending lawsuit against PuroAir. Shortly afterward, YouTube pulled down their video and a legal letter hit their inbox requesting that HouseFresh amends their earlier written review, threatening that failing to do so would result in HouseFresh being taken to court for defamation. Right around this same time, HouseFresh posted an outstanding article that we actually discussed on The WAN Show explaining how Google is killing independent sites like theirs. So what is going on here, and who is to blame? Is it YouTube for attacking whistleblowers? Does PuroAir have any legal ground to stand on here?
It turns out that this rabbit hole is a deep one, including lucrative affiliate deals, Google's algorithm being abused to suppress real reviews, and even a big Chinese company that is attempting to prevent shipments of PureAir's units that has led our two players here into a big misunderstanding. Because we reached out to PureAir for comment, and oh boy, did that raise way more questions than answers.
So, it's time to strap in and dig deep. And who better to help me than, there he is, Danny from HouseFresh. These guys might face more legal complaints for being here, sorry about that, but they agreed to travel all the way here and share their story to help educate consumers and hopefully give other independent reviewers the benefit of their experience fighting this battle. But first, I need to battle this segue to our sponsor. I'll get you, Segway!
Forum! Make a statement with their unique rings that contain materials like meteorite and ethically sourced antlers. Click our link in the description and use code LTT for 20% off.
HouseFresh originally took an interest in the PureAir 240 because the brand that made it appeared out of seemingly nowhere, and yet somehow it was one of the best-selling air purifiers on Amazon in 2023. Their review of it was pretty normal. They discussed that while the product seemed to work fine, it was an awful value when it was sold at $220 because, as it turned out, you could find some pretty similar looking devices on Alibaba for around 35 bucks. Well, 4 days later, perhaps coincidentally, their video got bombarded with dislikes and comments that appeared to originate from Russia, a country that had rarely shown up on their analytics in the past.
When we saw the traffic from Russia, we didn't really understand why, because we always publish our reviews in English. And the downvotes just didn't stop. Every day it was 10 downvotes, and it just carried on.
The next development was the anonymous tip that HouseFresh's review had been put forward as evidence in a class action lawsuit against PuroAir in California. That was followed 2 days later by the removal of their video from YouTube for, quote, counterfeit policy violation. And then 3 days after that, they received an email from PuroAir's lawyers requesting that HouseFresh amends or remove statements from their written review. When HouseFresh failed to amend the review, high five by the way, PuroAir's lawyers sent them a pre-action protocol letter, which is the first step toward filing a defamation suit. Almost immediately, things went from bad to worse. 1 week after they responded to PuroAir, HouseFresh received a DMCA removal notice, and Google preemptively pulled their written review from their index. What that means is even if you went out of your way to search PuroAir 240 HouseFresh, it would not show up in your search results.
When we first saw that DMCA notice, that's when we started to worry, because YouTube was meant to be our plan B after our site was decimated in Google search. So the DMCA rules mean that anyone can make a complaint to Google, and if it matches the automated system, the page is taken out of the search. And you have to make an appeal to have a human look at it, but it takes at least a couple of days for someone to look at it. Because the system is automated, you can actually hire people for less than $10 to get any page removed. Our critical review couldn't be found in Google anymore, and this was a battle we were already dealing with in the SEO competition.
Obviously, that's a lot to digest, and it raises so many questions. Who the heck is PuroAir? And why did Google take the video down and then shadow ban a perfectly normal product review? Let's start with the first part. PuroAir and their 240 unit, which I happen to have right here with me. But since I personally know very little about what makes an air purifier good or bad, Danny will be helping me, and oh, he brought the very similar one that can be purchased factory direct from China. So, we're each gonna tear down one of these with a focus on their differences and maybe more importantly, their similarities. Step one. Hold on, step one. Oh no, I think PureAir's got a case here, man. That's a completely different sized outer carton. Breathe with confidence. 99.99% efficiency. I bet you don't have that.
I don't have anything.
Look at that, you got nothing. Here, I'll fix that for you. Here, hold on, no, I got you. Problems brand air purifier. It's got 99.
Fun fact, by the way, this Hepa 14, that's removed from their website and their Amazon listing.
Oh, really? But the 99.99%, that's still there?
I think that's still there.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, wow, that's 50%. They get 99.99%, 50% of the time.
This is something I jumped on a call and chatted with PureAir about, both the verification of the Hepa 14 claim, but also why they removed it from their website. They mentioned that they were actually battling lawsuits and FTC claims done by a very dominant Chinese competitor, one that often challenges several of PuroAir's claims. And because of these claims, they found that from a marketing perspective, they saw no real benefit from fighting a possibly expensive case for a term that didn't seem to impact their sales. It kind of does call into question if they were even using Hepa 14 filters in the first place, since all they should need to do is show their certification for any filter that uses it. But we kind of know how well the legal system works, so. And it might seem weird that I had this note here, but I'll be back later to explain a bit more about why this Chinese competitor actually plays a much bigger role in this than you might think.
Well, you've got BKJ23A, and I got BKJ23A the second.
Oh, well, that's completely different then.
But I'm sure I have stuff that you don't. Look, I get $15 off Hepa 14 filters. Not to mention a 2-year limited warranty and user manual.
Yeah, I don't have.
Yeah, what do you get? You get nothing. Yeah, you really did, though, get absolutely no manual or anything.
No, sadly not. No, nothing.
So the Chinese factory just assumes you're smart enough to figure it out.
Oh,
on your
I've
own,
got
or
some
what?
Chinese words.
Oh yeah, that was on the bag. Well, that says, do not put over your head and try to breathe. Oh wait, hey, look at that. Yeah, that's totally different. Mine's black.
Yeah, this is why.
And mine has the perforations at the bottom, and yours has them at the top.
No, it's just upside down.
I can see why you guys thought it might be similar. Oh, well, mine has a sticker. Here, tip it over. I wanna have a look here. Okay, so we've got a little honeycomb thing
Yeah,
going
so that'll
on
be
here.
like the sensor.
And this is really interesting. There's a little bit of a flaw in the mold where the plastic flows around these holes, and you can actually see that it's the same on both of these units. So not only is the design extraordinarily similar, they clearly come out of the exact same mold. And there would be no reason for two factories to shoot plastics into the same mold, allegedly.
Thank you.
Now we're looking at the bottom. See any similarities?
Yeah, it seems like the same design, basically, and the same foot, like the little feet.
Ah, yes. You say that, but can yours do this? Right, okay, well. Okay, so they are both packaged in plastic.
Yeah, so that they don't get used in the factory, like in the warehouse.
But tell me this, Danny, if that is your real name. Sounds made up to me. Does yours say PuroAir on it?
No, nothing.
Huh, otherwise it looks the same, doesn't it? I just found a difference. This piece right here uses a different mold on these two units. Wait, no, it probably doesn't. It's probably a large mold that they shoot plastic into, and it makes multiple pieces. So it would be a 1 in 2 or a 1 in 3 or a 1 in 4 chance of getting the exact same piece. So yeah, that doesn't prove anything.
So we should have bought 8 then.
Yeah, we should have bought even more. Wait, how many of these did we buy?
You can talk to accounting.
Oh, this has an open, unauthorized seal, no guarantee.
Yeah, so one of the things they probably don't want you to see is that in their original marketing, they said they asked scientists from MIT and Harvard to design it.
Oh, so they don't want us to get their technology.
Potentially.
Well, I would like to see their technology. Where's my screwdriver at? These molds are slightly different too, actually.
We've got the P13. I don't know if this one hasn't got it written on it.
And this one has like a bit of texture there. I'm getting very curious about why they clearly use the exact same molds for some parts and why they use different molds for others. These ones use the exact same mold. I'm looking for little imperfections, like there's a little blemish right here, and that blemish is on this one too. So these are the exact same mold, but these ones are not. Bizarre. Actually, here's a theory. This is an early version of the handle for our Noctua Edition screwdriver. And you can see there's kind of some swirls. So when you add dye to the plastics, even if you're using the same plastic, it can change the flow characteristics of it a little bit. And also different colors will show these kinds of lines more or less than others. Microsoft discovered this the hard way when they released a white version of the Xbox Series X. They actually had to completely redesign the mold in order to do that because the black version hid them, but the white version was covered in little whorls and little marks. Anyway, my point is that could be a reason why they would use a different mold for some parts on one versus the other, depending on how it flows. With that said, they don't seem to care that much about their mold quality anyway, so allegedly. Okay, now that's gonna tell us a lot once Danny catches up to me here and makes his way to this control PCB. Oh my goodness, how many screws does this take? Ah! Oh my God, it really does look the same, doesn't it? So I'm clear, these guys got mad at you for saying that this and this seem to be the same thing.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I mean, they're the same thing, down to the like off-kilter mounting of this resistor. Okay, but these are gonna be totally different.
BKJ23AD.
Yeah, but
oh no, that is different.
mine has a totally different QC date.
Yeah, QC is different, so.
Actually, I don't even know if that's a date. What date code would 66 be? Evil one. Well, there's only one reasonable conclusion. After PuroAir did all of that MIT research, this Chinese factory copied them.
That's probably why we got our video removed then.
Seriously, obviously this is not how you guys would test an air purifier, right? Just like ripping it apart immediately. So how do you test them and make sure that this is Hepa or not Hepa or activated charcoal or whatever? How do you tell if it's good?
Well, the main thing is just using it. So we fill our test room in our home with incense smoke. We fill it up for 30 minutes and then we track it with a PureAir sensor that tracks the level of PM1, 2.5 and 10 and then see how quickly it takes to remove it, because that's the main reason why you would get an air purifier, to see how quick it can remove these tiny particles from the air.
Right, so it's like a dehipifier sort of device for your space.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Sure, right, and that is definitely the kind of review that you would want to see when you Google PureAir 240 reviews, so why did Google pull it?
So it might look like there's loads and loads of websites, but it's actually 16 companies that dominate the vast majority of search terms that people search for. That's why you see the same images and even the same recommendations from different publications owned by the same company.
And HouseFresh has more on their hands these days than just the legal battle with PuroAir. They're also fighting a search engine battle. Even before their review was removed from Google's index, they discovered that search terms like best air purifier, which used to drive significant traffic to their site, just bring up garbage top 10 air purifiers articles now. And these are often written by people, or AIs, that have never tested or even touched the products that they're recommending. Oh, fun fact, by the way, I got bamboozled into buying incompatible windshield wiper blades for my car by just such a list. But Linus, you should have known better, right? Well, not necessarily. See, many of the publishing companies behind these listicles will go out and acquire trusted websites, ones that Google favors over lesser known sites. Then they'll immediately make cuts to expensive things like, product testing and writers. And then they'll use that brand and profit off of it until it becomes worthless. Then they move on to the next one. Wait, profit? Profit how? Well, these listicle sites have affiliate links, the exact same kind that you would find in the description of our videos. In fact, there's one there right now. You click our link to private internet access, sign up for a VPN that will mask all of your Linux ISO downloads, and LTT gets a commission. Well, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but how a website goes about it can dramatically impact the user experience. On HouseFresh's page, for instance, they give their honest review, which might include a recommendation, but often doesn't, and they say, hey, if, having heard all of that, you still want to buy it, here's the link. Well, if you've ever scrolled through a top 10 listicle, you'll know it goes more like this.
Buy this, please!
No, buy this one, guys, use my link.
These pushy sales tactics are just the tip of the iceberg though. According to HouseFresh, commissions in the air purifier category are generally around 3%, but in PuroAir's case, they are much higher. How high are they? Wait, percent? If I was an unscrupulous AI listicle mill, I would be very interested in percent commission on a $230 product. But come on, Linus, you might say. People are gonna see that high price and just buy something else on the list, right? Well, you'd think that, but what if everyone was complicit? What if every item in the damn listicle was selected purely to maximize commission rather than to maximize air purity? Now you see the problem. And you've got to consider the category of product too. People who are passionate about blenders, for instance, might immediately know that some random brand isn't worth it when they can just get a Vitamix at Costco for $400. But like, who's passionate about air purifiers?
Me.
Exactly. So by strategically selling products in low passion categories, these brands can mostly stay under the radar of enthusiasts and reviewers, and their high prices can actually create a perception of value for the uninformed consumer. Then they leverage that perceived brand value and they discount it, creating a perception of savings and a sense of urgency to buy. That is the playbook that PuroAir used to rocket to #1 on Amazon. Lucrative affiliate deals drive recommendations, which drive profits, which drive affiliate deals, and money printing machine go brrrr.
And while, yes, it's easy to shame PuroAir since this is the company that has sued a reviewer, but they are far from the only company that might try these tactics in order to climb up the rankings ladder. And there's also nothing inherently wrong with using an offshore factory in order to manufacture a product for the Western market. But using the markup that you make as a way to leverage your position in the review space, that is not okay.
Now you've got the full picture. PuroAir buys cheap products, sells them at a big markup, and then leverages their cash to go after negative reviewers with fake counterfeiting complaints. Luckily, HouseFresh had insurance that helped to cover some of their legal fees, but they aren't out of the woods yet. Just when they thought this saga was over, they received notice that their insurance provider will not renew their coverage if they continue doing reviews. Well, they're a reviewer. So what does that mean?
Because this is now deemed high risk, our insurance company won't provide us coverage. But we're not going to stop doing reviews because I think it's important that there's independent voices like ours telling consumers what works and what doesn't. The good news is there's no legal active case for the PuroAir 240 review, but we're still talking to our lawyers just in case.
Which is great, but the thing to remember here is that PuroAir and HouseFresh are just small players in a much bigger game. This impacts everyone. Even if HouseFresh can get insurance, what can they do about bot brigading or video takedowns? It's no secret that YouTube's copyright system has been open for abuse for years. And in many cases, it takes more time and resources to fight these things than it ends up being worth. Unless you just really care about air purification.
Since we want to continue reviewing air purifiers, we wanted to review the larger PuroAir 400, but when we sent over questions that we had, we received an email from their lawyers.
Really? After everything that happened, HouseFresh still contacted PuroAir about their new device, as they should, and PuroAir, apparently having learned nothing, basically threatened them again, saying, "Stop with your fixation with PuroAir." Oh, did we reach out to PuroAir for this?
Yes.
Oh, and?
We're currently in talks with them.
We are in talks. What does that even mean?
I'll give an update now. After I jumped on a call with 2 higher ups, including the CEO at PureAir, I don't necessarily think that they are the devil in disguise or anything. It's clear that they just found a way to play the system and gain some ground. But I think many people would do the same thing if they could. But why does it seem like they have such a chip on their shoulder for HouseFresh? Well, you remember how I mentioned a Chinese competitor earlier? It turns out that PureAir has been battling a company called Lavoie, a company that makes a variety of home products, including air purifiers. Lavoie has opened court cases, FTC investigations, and even managed to hold cargo shipments at reports against PureAir in order to prevent them from entering the Western market. And from PureAir's perspective, the timing of Danny's negative review about the 240 unit, along with HouseFresh's positive reviews of some Lavoie units, made them suspicious that HouseFresh is simply just another attack vector. PureAir still seems convinced that HouseFresh is in bed with Lavoie, so we asked Danny to clear the air, and he said, quote, "We have as much of a relationship with Lavoie as we do with Winx, Koei, SmartAir, Xiaomi, Dyson, and many other brands. We have even asked PureAir to present proof of this in multiple legal communications, and they never did because there is no proof. It would be like saying that LTT is funded by Nvidia because we reviewed their graphics cards. Ouch, Danny must read our subreddit." Anyways, none of that changes the fact that they tried to sue a reviewer. It doesn't matter if they think it was an attack from a bigger player. And while we never found solid evidence about who sent the bot brigades and even the DMCA takedown, that is also not okay for any company to do or abuse. And I think there's some learnables for YouTube here as well. Any system where you can hire someone as cheap as $10 to take down a video is a broken system.
So what's the conclusion here then? Well, the good news is that there is a happy ending to the HouseFresh story, which we're gonna get into in a bit. But the bad news is that this whole listicle affiliate thing is still 100% a problem. And the only solution to it is slow, painstaking, one person at a time education. So if you have someone in your life that you know trusts these listicle websites, grab a share link to this timestamp to help them identify a real review versus a clickbait listicle. Step 1, hey, it's okay to use these listicles, especially for inspiration, but you should always search up the individual model numbers somewhere else before you buy, like on Reddit or on YouTube. Also, you're gonna wanna read or watch more than one review. Ideally more than 5, because the thing is, user reviews can be manipulated, and media reviews can be manipulated. But it takes a pretty well-coordinated effort to manipulate everything and bury every negative take on your product. Step 2, look at how hard they're shilling. This might sound obvious, but if they're pushing the purchase button in front of you before you've even had a chance to read a single word about the product, maybe it's time to find someone else who looked into it. A great way to know if someone has really put in the work is to see if they took their own photos or collected their own comparative data rather than just listing manufacturer specs. Finally, step 3, do a quick sanity check on who wrote the article. If it's someone, ideally a real person, who has built a career on consumer trust and verified testing, I can almost guarantee you that they'll do a better job than some anonymous entity on a website that reviews everything on planet Earth. So, the happy ending for HouseFresh then. It seems like, for now, they're out of the woods. We're gonna have their channel and their Patreon link down below, by the way, so you guys can go and support them.
Thanks for listening to us. And if you want to find out more about HouseFresh, you can now use Google to find us.
No one, no matter how big or how small, should be allowed to be shoved around for speaking the truth if they're putting in the work to back it up. But what I will shove you into is the segue to our sponsor.
Forum! In just a week or so, it'll officially be summer, and that means weddings galore. As you can imagine, rings are a hot commodity around this time, so why settle for a plain old band when you can get something extra special? Forum makes unique rings from exotic materials like World War II rifle stocks, whiskey barrels, and even genuine meteorite. Each ring comes with a free silicone activity band and an American walnut wood ring box. And you can put the final touches on your outfit with one of their minimalist watches, which also have some of the same exotic materials. With free shipping and a limited lifetime warranty, what's there to lose? Go check them out using our link in the description and get 20% off with code LTT.
If you guys enjoyed this video, head over to our RTX 5090 review. We had a ton of our team work on this, and we even had a ton of hosts help talk about every feature, and it turned out to be one of my favorite review videos that we have ever done.